You know, say what you will about Bioware, but they really do care. While we have been out here, myself included, judging and critiquing them and the direction they have chosen for Dragon Age, they have been very carefully considering their audience and what they want. We thought that Bioware kept taking L's with its new announcement for the game, but a W has finally been achieved, because Bioware knows that there are certain controversial, let's say, things out here in the real world that simply do not belong in a fantasy game. So they know that certain real and modern life things simply do not belong in their game, and that they could potentially ruin the immersion into this fantasy world that they have created for some people if they were to be included. So they have made sure not to include them at all. You know, of course, what I'm talking about, right? All these hints might have helped you, of course, but I am, of course, talking about spiders.
You serious?
Yep, you heard that right. Spiders. The eight-legged creature that we know in the real world is just too much for people to handle again. Because how could you forget, you ignorant, selfish person? There are people out here with arachnophobia, and BioWare will not tolerate any kind of phobia in their games. Not today and not ever, ladies and gentlemen. Because yes, in a game full of zombie-like, blighted monsters and literal demons, spiders was where BioWare just had to draw the line. I am guessing it was just too much for people to handle again, or let me guess, spiders do not exist in this new clean slate in Northern Thedas, or they existed but are now extinct. I better not see our Inquisitor talking about how their fears materialized as spiders in the Fade. And maybe that is why we will never learn what becomes of Hawk, even if we choose to leave them in the Fade. Because they were afraid of spiders after all. Can you imagine if they brought something like this up again?
Spiders. Always the maker difference.
The horror! Would someone think of the children? Good God. Just when I think this game, and the discourse surrounding this game, cannot get any worse, I come across articles like this one, and I just realize the extent of this woke brain rot that has just overtaken the entertainment industry and all its mediums of entertainment as a whole. It's like it's truly sunk its claws into the studios for good. First of all, this just feels disingenuous, and on another note, it also feels kind of ridiculous that this was even taken into account, that people might have arachnophobia. To me, this feels like they forgot to add spiders, and then when they were asked about it, they just remembered, and now they're just trying to make up excuses. So they went like, "Oh, we didn't forget to add spiders. Of course, we didn't forget about that. The enemy that has been in the game for 3 installments now. We're just trying to be inclusive, of course. There are people with arachnophobia out here, so we're just trying to be considerate of everyone. That's totally why spiders are not in the game. We were thinking of people with arachnophobia. Yeah, that's why." The funny thing is that I remember someone bringing this kind of thing up in one of the live Q&As that they did a while back. And they just said that they would talk about accessibility at a later date. And I could not help but roll my eyes at the questions being asked on that Q&A. People were seriously asking things like, "Oh, I am afraid of insects, and especially spiders. Is there a way to not deal with them?" Or, "Oh, I hope we have more hairstyles in this game." Or even, "I am non-binary. Can we have a non-binary option for the gender of our rook in the game as well?" No questions about the story or how our previous choices will impact the new game. We all know why now, in hindsight. So they were asking these sort of questions, but nothing concrete or real about the game. So I just left the Q&A. So I cannot say if things got better after that, but they only seemed to be getting questions from that group of people that they are so desperately trying to pander to. Or at least they were choosing to answer only those questions for the 20 minutes that I was there. But let's not be negative here. Let's try and entertain the idea that they were really trying to be inclusive. My question here then would be, why were people that happen to have arachnophobia as feelings taken into account and not other people's feelings? For example, what about people with thalassophobia? They should have removed the oceans and big bodies of water by that logic. So see how ridiculous this sounds? This will have no end. Trying to please everyone pleases absolutely no one, especially this particular group of people who, no matter how far you pander to them and even bend over backwards to please them, they will still complain about you not being inclusive enough. BioWare, for example, said that everyone is pansexual, you can be non binary, there is a first non binary companion, which is a first in the gaming industry, etc. So, this should all theoretically please the LGBTQ crowd, right? Wrong. These people were still complaining about the lack of the aromantic and asexual inclusion in the game. There are even articles about how it is some sort of phobic, I guess, for everyone to have assumed, correctly by the way, that Tash was the non binary character because she looks more masculine.
Oh no, cringe!
And the most ironic thing, get ready for this, is that the author even mentioned the fact that all of the companions being pansexual makes zero sense even statistically. But I do not think they want to go with the statistics approach, because then these modern day 1002 genders, or however many they are on this particular day, do not belong in the game at all, as people who identify as such are less than 1% of the global population and an even smaller percentage of the gaming community. So I'm sorry, but to me, it is kind of funny that studios keep bending over backwards, trying to please such a small minority of the population that just will not be pleased with whatever inclusion the studios do come up with. There is no pleasing these people. There is always something more you could have done. You can never be progressive enough in their eyes. Consequently, in trying to please the minority, they end up excluding the majority. And said minority either never shows up to support them, complains about the things that they did not include in their inclusion, or they do show up and they are such a small amount of people that their buying the game amounts to almost nothing, because apparently only targeting less than 1% of the population doesn't make you any money. Who would have thought that excluding 99% of the gaming community would translate to low sales? A true mystery for the ages. And then, when older fans of a franchise do complain about these things having no place in mediums of entertainment because they hinder both immersion and escapism, their answer is to call us names and blame us for the inevitable flop of their game. So say goodbye to the controversial spiders and say hello to the totally not controversial at all top surgery scars, being able to be non binary, everyone being pansexual, and of course, the most important thing about the game, the fact that you will be able to have 88 hairstyle options for non Kunari protagonists and 30 hairstyle options for the Kunari ones. So, yeah, have fun with that.